Hello, welcome to my workshop. My name is Tracy Maxfield and today we're going to make this. And what this is a depth gauge. This construction here is all made out of metal, so you don't have to worry about wood moving. The base of it is made out of plywood. And it's zeroed. We're going to make it and then I'll show you how it works. I'm going to take a piece of 1/4 inch rod and thread it down probably 3 or 4 inches. We're going to clamp that up real tight in our vise, and it won't matter if it scars the bottom part of this rod, because we're going to be cutting that off anyway. We're not going to be using the whole rod, so make sure you get it in there tight. You want to turn this back and forth when you're cutting this to drop your clippings out of it, shavings or whatever you want to call them. You want to keep that rod lubricated. Just put a drop or two on top of it and it will run down there to where the cutter is at. And this is a slow process, but it does work. You can actually go to your hardware store or your home repair stores and buy already threaded rod. This is something I had laying around and just come up with an idea for a depth gauge to set the height of my router bit or the height of your table saw blade when you need to make a precise cut. That's about between 3 and 4 inches down. I don't think that I will ever be cutting anything any deeper than that, whether it's a dado or just a rabbit or whatever. I think 3.5, 4 inches, whatever that is, will be a plenty. I think that will be plenty for almost any and every application I would need a depth gauge. Now that we've got our plywood cut, we're going to glue those together. This plywood is a lot more stable about moving than hardwood or any kind of wood. Okay, now I've got both of my pieces of metal setting one on top of the other. I've already set my fence there is where I want to put my hole through both of these. So the way I'm going to do that, because everybody knows that metal grabs a drill bit and it will sling it around and take attitude with you. Make sure those haven't moved. And just a couple of F-style clamps on each side will secure that. If it does grab the bit, it's going to want to send it in the direction of the fence. And this right here is going to hold both pieces perfectly still while I drill through both of them without me having to hold it with my hand. And all I have to do is drill through that piece of wood. And I think that ended up being a pretty safe way to do that. But there's both my holes that my rod's going to go through. And there we have it. File. A little burr that was caused from the drilling. And also this one. This side is flat, and this side is flat. The ends won't matter. That's what we need. We got our holes drilled for our rods. The wood is glued up, and we've cut our slot in here. I'm going to epoxy that one back in here, and then the rod's going to go through. This excess is going to be cut off both of these pieces. This other one will be just screwed to the top of this. A lot of this rod is going to be cut off. This is going to be screwed down. This is going to be epoxied in. And there's going to be a nut fastened to each one of those on the inside. A little bit of flux. Hard to do this to where I can keep it in the camera view, but that looks pretty good. We'll tighten that down. And we'll solder that one up. screw back out of it. Let that metal cool down and we're good to go. Try and get that to where you can see it. Okay, while we're waiting on the epoxy to set, maybe I can explain this a little bit better. This side of this jig is flat. It's going to reference off of your table saw top or your router table top. This, see the threads protruding there? When this is set here, that will be 0. And this bar is going to be cut off flush with the plane of the bottom of this block. That will be cut right in here. So that would be 0. And whatever you want to raise your blade, you just spin that much of the bar out. Say for example you wanted 3/8 of an inch. You can see that. You raise that out 3/8 of an inch, and that will be how high this will be up off your tabletop. You just measure just this end, and this will never fluctuate. You got plywood to hold it. The plywood is very, very stable, and this being all metal, it's not going to expand and contract. This will be consistent all the time. It will never change. What I'll have to do is go to 0 when this epoxy sets up, and you can feel that. And I'll have to cut that like right there on the right hand side, this side of that straight edge, and it will be zeroed out. So all it's left to do is cutting this off, this long rod off, and we've got our jig made. Alright, let me walk you through this. This is how I'm going to cut this off. What I've done is I've took a straight edge, took a 12-inch rule, and I've clamped it to the bottom, which is what you'd be reference off of any surface. So I brought this out about a little over 1/16 of an inch, maybe, well, it's not hardly an eighth, about a 1/16 of an inch, because I want to cut it just a little bit long and then take it to the bench grinder and ease up on, kind of sneak up on zeroing it out. I've put a piece of tape on it, and that tape is right to this side of the straight edge, which is the same side referencing off the bottom of this. So if I cut right next to that tape on this side, that should leave me that much to file off the bottom of it, and that will zero it out. If I let this wander any, I've got that much room to play with. Room for a small mistake, but not a big mistake. So I've got to take this rod out and cut it now on this side of the blue tape. Alright, I got that cut off, and I did have to put another bolt on the bottom of this and lock this against the bench grinder, which I couldn't video. I didn't have room for the camera to set over there to where you could see, but I had to put a bolt on here and lock it, and I think I'll leave it because then I can lock a setting. Just loosen that up and adjust and then lock it back down. But anyway, I'm zeroed here and I'm zeroed here, and I would take the straight rule and just keep grinding, rubbing that across the bottom. It was hitting it at first, and the more I grind, it got to where it would go over it. You can hear it just nicking it. That is close enough for me. Okay, I've loosened this bolt on the bottom of this where it gives you free rein to turn it to whatever depth you want. And we'll just say, for example, you want a 1/4 inch. There's a 1/4 inch on either side. Hold that. If you put this bolt on and leave it, and you can tighten that up, double check, make sure you're still at a 1/4, and then that has this bar 1/4 inch table. Set that over your saw blade, bring your blade up to that, and there's a 1/4 inch depth cut.